think about what you made maybe 20, 30 years ago, you probably not want to be living on that same income today, right? And this is going to be the same thing in retirement. You can't, if you're going to be retired for 20, 30 years, you can't have the same amount of income that you started with that you're going to end with, because it'd be probably pretty ugly at the end. Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio, where we help people overcome the uncertainty of having enough retirement income. I'm your host, Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. We want you to enjoy life and not have to wonder where your money will come from and how long it'll last. My mission is to show you how to develop a personalized income plan so you can retire more and have worry less wealth. Here at Wealth Creator Radio, we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. We understand that the world of retirement planning can be filled with confusing products, ever-changing tax laws, and volatile markets. That's why we're here to help successful people like you navigate the uncertainty and create a blueprint for a thriving, work-optional life.
You know, you hear Eric's voice on the radio every single weekend, and maybe you've even seen his face on some advertising in the area. Maybe you have people who work with Eric and his team at Heckman Financial. But today, we're going to get to know him even more. And if you would like a more personal face-to-face chat, then give Eric and his team a call. Let me get you that phone number, 800-454-1184. What you can do is call this number for a complimentary visit, 800-454-1184. The other thing you could do is text the word toolbox to this number, and you'll get the toolbox. It has the book that Eric has written, Blueprint to Worryless Wealth, plus other educational materials. So check them out yourself, wealthcreatorradio.com. And Eric, hello to you.
Hey, Luann. Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a different take here. We're just going to go over how I got into this and why I do what I do. So,
okay, very good. So let's just start with your background, how you got started, even at a young age. How did you get involved in the financial services?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was always kind of interested in money. I had a checking account when I was 14, mainly so I could buy those good old Columbia records. And always was working usually two jobs, just because I like to have money and like to have stuff and do things. And so, when I was going to Santa Clara University, I was going with a finance degree, and I did actually an internship doing cold calling for a stockbroker, kind of old school stuff for a while, but did also a internship for getting my securities license and my insurance license. And then I was working in banking at the time, and started working mainly with an insurance company that also did investments before I kind of broke out on my own. And, so that's kind of how I kind of the path I chose to get in here, or it chose me, I guess. Right.
Right.
And so, it was more, I don't know if I was quite the Alex P. Keaton kind of character from Family Ties, but kind of somewhat
kind of like it. Yeah.
And I did like to, have a lot of that stuff figured out. And I was also always good at kind of solving puzzles or figuring out different ways to do certain things. So, with financial planning, financial advising, really it is, if you think about it, there's lots of different paths, there are lots of different ways to kind of achieve similar results, but which one's the most optimum? And that's kind of the stuff I like to always figure out. And that's kind of what got me into here.
Yeah. Now you've kind of fallen into the areas of helping retirees. So that's a huge puzzle to figure out for each individual, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's probably the bigger one, really, for a lot of people. That's the most complicated. Having your money, just put it away and save it, let it grow. There's things you can be doing along the way, but it's not as complicated, correct? So the really complication is, how do you now have all these different types of accounts? Which one do you take first? How do you take it? How much can you take? How's it going to last? And what's the tax ramifications? All those kinds of issues. That's really what I like to do, because there's a lot less people in that space, a lot less people actually understand it, and it's one where I can really excel and show people, hey, these are some different options you could do it, but here's probably the best way for you.
I love it. Now, talk a little bit about Heckman Financial. How many people are in your office?
Yeah, we've got seven on the team here. We've got a full-time tax person who,
Hmm.
does tax returns for our clients, and in off tax seasons, helping do an analysis with Roth conversions,
Mhm.
other types of stuff, because there's everything about retirement is tax related,
Right.
and so that's one big thing. And then of course we've got just the team doing the planning, team doing the applications and getting all the accounts up and running. And then we do just a lot of client service stuff. We do fun client events. We usually do a Galentine's thing around Valentine's Day for the ladies. We do summertime kind of company picnic thing with all of our clients. So there's a couple of standard events that we always do every year, but then we do some educational ones along the way. And of course, anytime there's a tax law change or anything like that. So we do a lot of events for existing clients, and really to try to keep them informed, try to make sure they're knowing what's going on, and also have a little bit of fun while you're at it, right? So
Right. Yeah.
you got to keep it interesting.
I love that it's a family atmosphere because I've seen pictures and events that you guys have held where everybody comes and then they can even bring friends and you have, just really good time together. And then also, like you said, you have these educational events and you hold a lot of those throughout the year. So talk about how people can find out about those and sign up for those.
Yeah, well, so there's always different events going on. We'll either be doing some talks, sometimes at dinner places, sometimes more educational settings, and so yeah, we've always got those going on. Usually, we have some on-demand webinars. Those are always up and running, and on certain topics, and that's a good way just to get a little bit more data, a little bit more information, and really kind of understand a little bit more. Yeah, you may not get it all right. You may not want to learn it all, but at least you know what you should start to know, or what to ask about, right? And so, yeah, one of the things we've done is we've got a list of those at wealthcreatorradio.com. And so, yeah, you'll go there. You can click on the link there to see all the latest and greatest events that we have. And like I said, there's always some webinars up and running. So, yeah, you can click on those anytime you want. And again, that's wealthcreatorradio.com. And, if you want it even easier, all you have to do is text RSVP to 800-454-1184. That'll send you the list of the events that we have coming up, or the link, to find those. So again, super easy way to do it is just text the word RSVP to 800-454-1184.
We thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. Now, Eric, tell us how you teach your own boys. You have 3 boys, almost all grown, but how are you teaching them about finances, and when did you start?
Yeah, well, probably didn't start as good as we should have early on, but we tried some. We did do some little things here and there and stuff. But no, I mean, one of the things that we did is, really they always wanted to get, have some jobs now. They didn't
Aw.
work quite as much as me, but they did do like seasonal jobs. Like they all worked at the ice rink downtown when, the outdoor ice rink. So,
Oh.
there were certain things they like to work at scout camp and other stuff like that. So, so that was one way to at least have some of their own money, and that they can do. But I mean, I think one of the bigger things that we did was really when they went to college. It's like, okay, well, if you're in the dorms or an apartment, we'll give you some money, for basic food type stuff or meal plan, but we didn't give them any spending money. So
There
if
you
if you want spending money, get a job, right?
Uh-huh.
And do something, and then you can, get your spending money that way. And they did. They got some part-time jobs, just enough to pay for movies, pay for, the fun stuff that you want to do, right?
Mhm.
And now that they're, especially with my oldest, who's out on his own now, type of thing, it's all about funding Roth. Make sure you start putting some money in Roth. Make sure you also have some money in savings. Build up some savings. Don't just put it all away for, when you're 59 and a half, which is way too long for somebody who's in their 20s.
Right, exactly.
And so, yeah, you want to have that safety money. You want to have some of that backup money so you don't go on credit cards, but you also need to put everything in the Roth. So that way it's not going to be in the government's hands down the road. And, that's one of the big things that we look at when we meet with people, is we go through that whole process and we teach them all these different things. So, one of the things is just getting that information, getting that data. Again, that's one of the, I think, one of the most critical things that people can do. And so we set up this digital toolbox for people, and it's got all sorts of great things like, are you paying too much in taxes in retirement? Will your money last as long as you do? Copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. All that you can find by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com. Happy holidays and Happy New Year from all of us at Heckman Financial. We hope you enjoy the season and look forward to talking with you next year.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And, we all know how important it is to save for retirement. I think that's been, ingrained in us. But the big question is, how do we preserve what we've saved? And it's a big deal to more than 90% of consumers that we need to protect our retirement assets. And so, Eric, when we talk about protected households, we're talking about families who have something like a pension or an annuity to supplement what they're going to get from Social Security and retirement. So I want you to talk about why it is so important that we find a way to get protected income in retirement.
Yeah, well, one of the hardest things is, how do you make sure you don't run out of money? That's pretty much the number one fear for everybody in retirement. So, easiest way is have more guarantees, right? Most of us don't have those nice pensions that companies used to provide. Mm-hmm. So, lots of times it is really good to go out and get one of, basically you could call it a private pension or whatever you want to call it, but you're buying something with an insurance company that will make sure that money lasts as long as you do. And there's more and more studies that show that really you have to have something like that, because what used to kill you, now we just take a pill for it and we live a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
So that's great, yeah. Unless you don't have money. Then that sucks. So we don't want to be there, right? So we want to make sure that that you've got some money coming in every single month, and especially with Social Security in 2035 or so is supposed to not be able to pay 75 to 80% of its benefits, depending on which time frame you look at. So that there is some government risk too. If that was one of your main sources and that went away, yikes. So that's another reason to have it too, is have some baseline stuff. So at least your main costs are covered, and then you can use your risk money for all the other stuff.
Right. Okay. So I want people to understand maybe a little bit more about whether or not their retirement income is protected. So Eric, tell us about common places we might put our retirement money, money that's not protected.
Yeah. Well, probably the number one thing is your 401k, right?
Yeah.
401ks, IRAs, all those things. There are no protected assets in there. Now, sometimes they have a money market or a guaranteed fund where the balance is protected, but there's no protection on the income. So really what that is if you have your money in market assets, you're retiring on hope. It's the hopium dream, right? That you're stuck on hopium. You're hoping that's going to last for you. And, it's pretty scary because you never know what's going to happen, right? .com crash, people didn't see the financial crisis, all sorts of, COVID, right? All sorts of things that have come and really dropped the market for a while. That didn't really matter when you were working because you weren't withdrawing money. But once you're retired and you need that dollars, man, if that money comes out, and you're cashing in those shares don't come back, right? Those dollars don't jump back up because you used them, you lived on them, right? So that's one of the things I think that people have to really super be watching for is, how are you going to get this money out? It's not just points on the scoreboard anymore. It's actually having a plan to withdraw the money, to make sure that income lasts as long as you do, which then means you have to know where that money's invested. And then also the biggest cost in retirement is taxes. So that's the next area you have to figure out. Lastly, healthcare and legacy issues. So those are the 5 areas of the blueprint to worry less wealth. And that's what we do here at Heckman Financials. We help people worry less and retire more. And so that way they can, live their life more. But you have to have that plan for that income, investment, tax, healthcare, and legacy. So, one of the great things we do is we set up a digital toolbox, and it's a place where you can get some great downloads like Will My Money Last As Long As I Do? which is what we're talking about, right? And also Social Security decision dilemma. There's stuff about Medicare. There's a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a spot to set up a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So all you got to do is super easy, is just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or go online and download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you are listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. So happy to have you along with us. I want to mention that Eric and his team hold many events throughout the year. Find those details, even sign up for them at their website, wealthcreatorradio.com. All right, so we're talking about income and making sure that it is protected. Tell us, Eric, what challenges we're going to be facing with our income if it's maybe money instead of protected income.
Well, like I said, if the markets drop and you're taking that money out, you're locking in those losses. And so, that means that money's going to go down faster. There's people talk about dollar cost averaging, where you can put money in and it helps it grow over time. Well, this is reverse dollar cost averaging, or another problem called the sequence of returns. And, it's a very well-known problem that if you keep taking this money out and things keep going down, you're going to run out of money pretty quick. I mean, if somebody took money out of the S&P 500 from 2010 to 2020, their money would have barely changed. But if they took money out from 2000 to 2010, they would be almost out of money, and the same exact dollar amount. So we've got an example where we used 500,000 and taking out 30,000 a year. One time frame's down to 76,000, the other one's over 350,000. So big difference, but exact same investment. So it's not the investment is the problem; it's the risk, right? It's the money dropping. So that's one of the biggest things is having something that's protected. So that way you can go in those bad times, grab that. When the markets are up, that's when you can say, oh, let's take some from the market. But don't be doing that when the market's down. But you need to have some other place, because if you're 100% in the market, all stocks and bonds, you don't have any options at all.
Right. So if someone's interested in getting this protected income, they've got to figure out the right option for their family, obviously. That's kind of what you guys do. Do you do something like maybe an annuity analysis?
Well, not per se annuity analysis for me. I always try to start everything with planning.
Okay.
It's kind of like, what color should I paint my walls? Well, have you built the house yet?
Right. Yeah, that'd be me.
Right.
That'd be me. I'd have the whole inside figured out. And
Yeah. And so that's one of the problems is people talk products so much. They're just sell stuff and push things. And, that's not the right way to go. The first and foremost, you got to have a plan to know, okay, how much do I need to live on? How much do I need a protected income? What would make sense for my situation? And then go from there. Because some people want those lifetime payout guarantees, but some people might just need some guaranteed principal that has good growth because they got enough other assets. So, it really depends on which type. I can tell you the ones you don't want is the variable annuities. Those are the ones with all the fees and costs. And 95% of the time, I can't find a way that those are suitable or in the best interest for the client. So those are the ones I really tend to stay away from and, warn people about. But, we're talking about the ones that don't have fees and costs and ones that, you have to leave your money there for a period of time, but, there is no, annual fees and deductions. And so there's lots of great options out there. It's just more about finding out about them and how they fit for your situation.
Okay. And then one other thing before we take a break, Social Security is still a big part of the discussion on retirement income. Can you talk about how we need to think about our entire picture, our entire income picture before we, decide to claim those benefits?
Yeah, no, certainly. So, the biggest annuity out there is Social Security. That's one that everybody pretty much gets. So, so picking when to start that annuity can have a huge effect. You don't want to be doing it early. If you're still working, you're going to give a lot of it back. A lot of people say, well, if it runs out of money or has issues, why don't I just grab it now? But that might not be the best long-term decision because you might be getting those payments for 30 years, right? Or somebody, because if you're married, whoever gets the higher of the two checks, that's a permanent check for you guys. And you want that check to be as big as it possibly can. So, again, it goes back to planning, goes back to having a strategy. and then knowing which is the right time to do it. Sometimes it actually makes sense to actually do it sooner. So, again, one of the ways we've set up some great ways to get information for you, or to you, I should say, is our digital toolbox. So you can have a lot of great downloads. You can set a time to talk. You can read a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial, where their mission is to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. Wouldn't you like to worry less? Most people believe it's important to take steps to help protect their retirement savings. That's good news, but that's not the entire story. People are still making assumptions about their financial future and failing to see some of the gaps in their strategy. Eric, we've talked about this before. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College found that about 30% of all households wrongly assume they're prepared for retirement. A little more than that, 32% of high-earning households are the most overconfident.
No, certainly, yeah. I don't think a lot of people really fully understand, how it changes. I mean, one big one is when you have 7 days a weekend versus 2, you can go have a little bit more fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a golfer, you might be golfing a lot more. Well, that's more fees, right? If there's more travel, you might be spending more on that. Now not everybody does expensive hobbies. Maybe it's just gardening or something, but that is one of the things to be paying attention to is what's your spending level going to be, especially if you have a lot of those bucket list items of trips and fun things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. And, so that'd be one issue. Lots of times too, is people just don't understand how the cash flow works, where the money's going to come from. Again, how much taxes they're going to pay and what that effect's going to be. So yeah, there's a lot of things I think people don't understand. And, a lot of times that's where a second set of eyes can really help out and say, oh, did you know about this? Did you know about this? Right. So
Yeah,
it's always helpful to talk to somebody else about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we're here doing this show, to let people understand they can contact you, Eric Heckman, for that second set of eyes at Heckman Financial. Okay. What do we need to do to make sure that we aren't making too many assumptions with how long our money is going to last?
Well, a couple things. One is making sure you have inflation adjustment. Think about what you made maybe 20, 30 years ago. You'd probably not want to be living on that same income today, right?
Nope.
And this is going to be the same thing in retirement. You can't, if you're going to be retired for 20, 30 years, you can't have the same amount of income that you started with that you're going to end with, because it'd be probably pretty ugly at the end. And so, we need to have that money growing. And so that means you're going to have to be spending more. And did you include that in your assumptions or not, right? What's taxes and costs going to be like? Probably one of the biggest ones is people don't realize how horrifically expensive dental is in retirement, because Medicare does not do much for dental at all. So that's one of those weird ones. I've got clients almost every year have at least one or two clients that have a 5-figure dental bill.
Oh my, yeah.
And so that's one thing I guarantee you people don't include in their, their plans.
Right.
And sometimes it may be stuff like, oh, I'm helping out the kids or, helping out this thing. Well, what did that do to your retirement?
Mm-hmm.
How much money did that dent, how much money you have and such. So, there's a lot of little things that people don't kind of really always think about. And obviously stuff like long-term care, what would that effect be? If all of a sudden one spouse gets ill and you spend 300,000 or 400,000 over 2 or 3 years taking care of them, and then that other spouse lives for another 15, 20 years, how's that going to affect everything? So there's lots of little things to be planning on that people probably don't always think about.
Right. That's so true. That dental. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Medicare doesn't cover dental because your health, your overall health, does depend on having healthy dental care. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised about that. We talk about this figure all the time. Only about 25% of Americans have a written financial plan, which means the other 3/4 of us don't have a plan. So I'm guessing a lot of those people aren't even sure what we mean when we talk about having an income plan for retirement. So talk about that, Eric. That's something that you guys do all the time for retirees.
Yeah, well, as you know, I do a lot of bicycling and
Yes.
do even bicycling, adventure trips and other things. And, I always have a route. I always have a plan, but I always have a phone and, Garmin GPS and all this other stuff. But if I just went to some city and started trying to ride 50 miles and try to figure out where the heck I started from and where my stuff is, it might be pretty tough if I didn't have a GPS, if I didn't have any of this modern technology, right? Or a map or anything. And that's really what it's going to feel like if you don't have a written financial plan. You're just going to be wandering about in retirement and hoping you get to some place. You don't know where it'll be, and you don't know how great the destination will be. So it's a little scary. And I would not want to do that for anybody. And so one of the biggest keys is, like we talked about, is having that income plan where it says, how much are you going to spend it on a monthly basis? And, how's that going to change over time? Like before 65, after 65 with Medicare issues. How's Social Security play a part of that? How's any other income sources? What's the tax ramifications of all your different types of assets like 401ks or Roth or IRA or regular money? How's that all going to play out when you withdraw that money, and what's the taxes you're going to pay, and what order should those different dollars be taken? And, there's a lot that goes into it. But once you have it and you know that your money's going to last till, 95 or 100, that's great. Sometimes people say, I want to retire early, and we look through their plan and their money might run out about 75 or 80. Okay, well, there's something we should probably be doing differently. You might want to work longer. You might want to retire someplace else, downsize your house. There's different options. But, if you didn't know that going in and then you just ended up where your money's almost out of, almost gone, that'd be pretty freaky and scary especially if you're 80, right?
Right.
So, again, that's why we've set up these great things in our digital toolbox, like, will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? All these great resources there, even the Social Security decision dilemma. So, I really encourage people just to go there, get some of these quick reads. Education's the biggest key to starting out and figuring out how, do I have an issue? Should I do something different? I even have a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and a way to set a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So all you got to do, super easy, is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we are so happy you joined us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with my friend Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So obviously, that's the whole point. Eric and his team want to help you have more confidence with your income picture in retirement. I think a lot of people want that because it sounds like a good thing, but maybe they don't understand exactly how to get it. So, aside from doing this radio show, how else do you help people learn more about options for protected income in retirement, Eric?
Well, again, first of all, having that plan. So the plan helps a lot, right? Because then at least you know where things are going and how the money's going to be coming out. But also having some guaranteed types of money. So I always like to divide money up into 3 types. So there's market money, which most people are familiar with, stocks, bonds, ETFs, all that stuff in your 401k. But then there's also some foundational money, some money that's guaranteed either by a bank, insurance company, or treasury, something that has some backing, and ideally that may have some lifetime income or at least have some good earnings that can't go away, where the principal is guaranteed. Again, so you raid that money when things are bad. You take the market money when things are doing good. And then I usually have a little bit like 10 to 20% in steady income, stuff that just pays good cash flow. That's really critical when you're retired. But even while you're working, it's good to have that cash flow coming into the account because then, there might be opportunities to move it into the market when markets drop and such. So, again, it's really about minimizing your lifetime taxes, making sure you have a plan, making sure you have that income that's going to last. And then you can, retire more and worry less like we talk about. So, if you want to have options on that, again, go to our toolbox. It's got a lot of great information on there. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com. Happy holidays and Happy New Year from all of us at Heckman Financial. We hope you enjoy the season and look forward to talking with you next year.
Hi, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial right here in the Silicon Valley area. There are some words that can stand the test of time, and we're going to go through some timeless advice right now for you to keep in mind for retirement. So here's how it's going to go, Eric. I'm going to give you a quote, and then I want you to talk about what that has to do with retirement planning, okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, here we go. First one is Benjamin Franklin. And oh my gosh, he has so many quotes because he did so much, okay? Here's a good quote from him. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. So that sounds like something we need to think about. Those little expenses that could cause unexpected issues in retirement, right?
Well, not just in retirement. I mean, just all the time, right?
Life.
And, right now, of course, when the subscription model kind of first came out for software and other things, it was amazing how much more profitable a lot of these companies got because, now you don't pay for it once, you pay for a tiny bit every single month, right? And same with streaming services and same with, so many different things. So another term I like is dripping nickels. That's the other good one. And so, one of the things to look at is, just sit down and look at, those, your credit card bills and your bank accounts. Are there things you're paying for that you're barely using or not using at all? Even worse, right? So those are things where if you can kind of go through there and start cutting out some of those expenses, it's amazing. Sometimes people can save, $100, $500, even $1,000 on stuff that they're not really using or needing. And so, that's one of those things that, again, that's 100% return on your money, right? If you stop spending it. It's a very good way to make some money by just stop spending it and on things that you don't need.
Right. All right. Very good. We're going over some timeless advice. I'm giving Eric some quotes and he's telling us what it has to do with retirement. This next one is from somebody we all know about, Abraham Lincoln. And he said a lot of things too, but here's one. He said, "You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today."
That's definitely a good one. He did have a great way with words. And so, I mean, it is very true that I would probably say, if they're all being honest, I'd say it'd probably be 100, but I'd say at least 70% of my clients always regret not starting earlier, not doing something, sooner, right? Why didn't I put more money away when I was in my 20s or 30s and, things like that, right? And so why did we not do that? Well, because we were exactly what he was saying.
Procrastinators.
We were trying to escape the responsibility tomorrow, right? By evading it today. So, it is one of those things where if you can just start putting a little bit away, it's amazing the amount of time that compounding does and how that's on your side if you start early. If it's late, you can still do it. It just means you need to put more away and maybe you cut back more now to make sure it's all good later on. But you definitely need to have a focus on tomorrow. Always, even today.
So true. Believe me, I'm 64. My husband and I both wish we would have, back in our 30s, and 40s saved more, because now we're regretting, we regret it. And man, that would have been helpful. So we're working really hard now to save though, Eric, and we've downsized and saving as much as we can. And we were out of debt and all that. So believe me, yeah, if you do it earlier, you won't have to, kind of scramble at the end like Bobby and I are doing. But all right, here's another quote from, actually, I would say this is a pretty heavy hitter in the financial world, Warren Buffett. And he says, I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 10 years. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that one's a little funky, huh? I mean, I don't think they would close it for 10 years.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I mean, in essence, what he's saying is he's trying to put money in there for long term, for owning whatever company. Right now, oh my gosh, with all the meme stocks and all the, FOMO and get rich quick kind of attitudes that you see out there. So many people, unfortunately, are just trying to jump on whatever the hottest new stock is and make a ton of money. And yeah, they may do that once or twice, but the problem is the other 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 times they didn't do it, offset what they made on those 1 or 2 times. Right. and so that, I mean, that's one of the things that you have to watch out for. I mean, you need to have that long-term focus. You need to make sure that, that this money's going to last you for the rest of your life. And, there's, also on the flip side of that, you also can't just jump back in and out. I mean, that's one of the worst things that I see where, people that, in 2022, because the market was down, they said, and they get out. And then, of course, the end of 23, it was back to where it was at the end of 21. So, those kind of things where you have these dips and back up, if you overreact to those too, then, that's going to be a problem. So, one of the things I think is anytime you're doing anything, if you have a plan to go back on, you're assembling that IKEA furniture or whatever it is, right? And all of a sudden you see some extra bolts, you can go back in the directions and make sure you didn't skip a step, right? You can make sure that you did it all right. So when you have a plan, it's easy to know, okay, should I freak out, or are these just actually extra bolts, right? Or
maybe.
Did I forget something and it's going to fall over the second I put it up? So you need to know that information. It's really critical for you. So, that's what we do with our clients is it's like, okay, am I going to be okay? Am I going to make sure this money's going to last me the rest of my life? What about inflation? What about, risk? What happens when there's a down market? Because basically every 10 years, there's going to be probably 1 to 3 down markets, and you're going to hit those in retirement. So where do you get the money that year for to live on and such? Well, if you've got, a good plan where you've got foundational and steady income and market funds, you've got a plan for that. If you've got that blueprint to worry less wealth, where it talks about your income plan, your investment plan, your tax plan, healthcare and legacy plan, then once you have those 5 areas taken care of, you also know you got a plan to fall back on. So, I think that's one of the things that you have to have always your eye on to make sure that you're on track and on target. And so, one of the things that you can do is if you wanted to get a little bit more information, set up a time to talk, 15 to 30 minutes with me, Eric Heckman, and no cost, no obligation, or you just want to get a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. If you want to get some of our quick reads, we've got these 10 to 15 page papers on Social Security decision. Will my money last as long as I do? Items like that. All you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah. And on wealthcreatorradio.com, they have, like Eric already said, there's some free reports there. But, you want some more advice? Eric's giving you, advice today. There's a lot of articles on things that you might, have questions about. What if you do need long-term care, or those Social Security decisions, or empower women investors, just all kinds of things. Head to wealthcreatorradio.com for even more. Eric and his team are here to to guide you about retirement. In fact, Eric's been doing this for, 30 plus years. So that is his passion, to help retirees have a remarkable retirement. And you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Thank you so much. So Eric, here's our final quote, maybe from someone who's far less famous. This is a financial author, and his name is Jonathan Clements. He says, retirement is like a long vacation in Vegas. The goal is to enjoy it to the fullest, but not so fully that you run out of money. And tell us how true that is.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. I mean, it should be a lot like a vacation, but you don't want to be, I think it's almost more expensive going to Disney nowadays than it is Vegas. But, I mean, some of these places, when you're on these trips or these resort areas, right, everything's so pricey. You don't want to be spending that kind of stuff every day, for, the rest of your life, right? So you gotta have a little bit both ways, right? Have those fun trips, have those things, but have that in a fun fund. Have a fund set aside where you've got that money to do those things, and make sure you're doing the things that you want to do. Getting out there, having some fun, seeing friends, seeing family, going to all those bucket list places, but do it within a plan. So once year by year, my clients come back to us and they say, "Oh, how am I doing? Are we on track?" And I mean, one of the nicest ones I just recently had was I had a client that we went over, how she's been doing, and she's like, "Is this about right?" I mean, I looked back from some of our reports from, I think it was about 8 years or 9 years earlier, and she's averaged only about 10,000 drop in all those years of her assets.
Oh, wow.
Even though she's been living off of them and taking income and so forth out of that. So, I said, you're good. She's like, well, I'm always worried about that Costco shopping cart. Do I need to take it home with me or not? And like, nope, you're fine. So, again, that's why we put all these tools up and all these great resources up at our digital toolbox. There's a lot of great stuff in there. You can set a time to talk, get a copy of my book or some of those reports. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will the roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a great run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather the financial storm? Now may be a great time to have your retirement plan inspected. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial at 800-454-1184 now. Eric will examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial today at 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hi, this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. Eric and I often discuss challenges and risks that happen in retirement. So, Eric, I think it's time for you to give us an example of something that has happened, someone who has experienced one of those retirement obstacles. We call it a financial fail. So what do you have for us today, Eric?
This is we'll call her Beth, but she had some health issues, and she was a nurse, and she could have had a lifetime pension, but she wanted just to take the lump sum distribution because she figured with her health it wouldn't last as long, and be a smarter decision. And so we set up a way to have her have an income for life for part of the money, and then have a pot of the money that would also be available if she needed it. And then, of course, one of her daughters needed help, so she wanted to help her. And then another daughter needed help. She kept helping her, and she kept helping them and kept helping them. And after about 4 or 5 times saying that you're taking out too much, we almost basically stopped even having to tell her that, because she was just death to the to the consequences, or whatever you want to call it. But basically, she's spent down one account and then had to raid the account that was going to pay the lifetime income before we were going to turn it on. And it was just something that was pretty much a mess. And, I've seen that with a lot of clients where they think that they're helping the next generation by using up all their money, but No, you're not. They're younger. They can still struggle. They can still figure out a way to save. They can figure out a way to move to a cheaper area or do something different, right? There's always a solution long term, but there is no more time when you're in retirement. If you're retired and you're spending down assets too fast, you can't come back from that. So that's what we try to do every year with our clients when we're doing those progress meetings, and we're going through to see how things are going and making sure things are all on track. But we had another case where a couple, they told us when they retired 3 years earlier that they're going to spend $9,000 a month in retirement. And when they did the math on how much they're withdrawing out of their bank accounts, it was 15. That's a big difference, right? So that's a lot more. And we showed that they were going to be running out of money in about 10 years at that clip. And you have to be having somebody there to help you, to tell you these things, lots of times from an external viewpoint is a lot better, because a lot of times you just don't see it and you're blind to it. So I would say one of the things that people want to get is get a lot of data, get a lot of education, really know what's going out there. And so one of the things we set up is all this great resources on the digital toolbox, where will your money last as long as you? Are you paying too much in taxes? Even my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a link to set up a time to talk with me. So all that is at the digital toolbox. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or go online directly at wealthcreatorradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and it's been a pleasure guiding you towards a more confident and secure retirement. Remember, my responsibility is to always do what's right for you, our client. Together, we can cut out that fancy-sounding financial jargon that doesn't help and focus on what truly matters for your financial future. If you're ready to take control of your retirement planning and build a personalized income plan, contact us at 800-454-1184 and text the word toolbox to schedule a complimentary consultation. If you're looking for more resources and tools to build your retirement future, don't forget to check out the Wealth Creator Toolbox, your toolkit for a secure and confident retirement journey. Until next time, retire more and worry less with Wealth Creator Radio.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.
This radio show is a paid placement.